to the Fourth and Long Fantasy Football Show.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Fourth and Long Fantasy Football Show. My name is Justin. Episode 51 today, and Week 2 is in the books. On today's episode, I'll give you a few of my Week 2 reactions, go over my waiver wire targets, and my starts of the week for Week 3. Now, as a reminder, I'll be releasing my weekly episodes throughout the season on Thursday mornings. Get you prepared with my weekly recaps, waiver wire ads, and starts of the week. Your time is valuable, so let's get to it.
On today's show...
Alright, so for today's show, I'll start by giving you a couple quick reactions to Week 2. And I'm going to start with a victory lap for Los Angeles Rams wide receiver Cooper Kupp. What a start to the season for Cooper Kupp, guys. I talked all offseason about how Cooper Kupp is a wide receiver 1, and well, here it is. He's shown immediate chemistry with new quarterback Matthew Stafford, and he should be getting every week wide receiver 1 treatment from here on out. The news all offseason pointed to how Kupp and Stafford had a serious bromance, and it's paying dividends for those who invested in Kupp in the 5th round of fantasy drafts this summer. He's currently the number 1 scoring wide receiver in fantasy football. I don't see the momentum slowing down all that much for the 28-year-old slot god. He might go down as the best draft day value of 2021. Next, the Dallas Cowboys running back by committee. The touches are there for Tony Pollard in this Cowboys backfield, and the preseason chatter about the Cowboys wanting to keep Zeke Elliott fresh has come somewhat true already. Now, the snap share did favor Zeke in Week 1, but Week 2 brought a much more even split for the two Dallas backs, and both performed pretty well. Don't get me wrong, Zeke Elliott is still a really good player, but Tony Pollard has looked like the back with more burst and more explosiveness. Pollard could be a league winner if something were to happen to Zeke, and he may even have some standalone sort of RB3 value in PPR leagues while Zeke maintains a similar role. And then finally, is it time to panic about George Kittle? Now, there's no denying that Kittle hasn't had the best start to his 2021 season. 2 weeks with down performances probably has some Kittle owners nervous after they dropped a 3rd-round pick on the stud tight end this summer. It's been the Deebo Samuel show in San Francisco through 2 weeks, and if I was a tight end needy team, I'd be reaching out to the Kittle owner and gauging his price. The buy low window is wide open for the San Fran superstar tight end. Let's get into my waiver wire ads for the week for Week 3, but before I get there, my ads for last week included Elijah Mitchell, Kenneth Gainwell, and Tim Patrick. I'm going to start my Week 3 waiver wire list off with a running back, and it's going to be Los Angeles Rams running back Sony Michel. Now, Michel needs to be added in all leagues ahead of Week 3 with the news that recently surfaced regarding Darrell Henderson's rib cartilage injury. Similar to what happened to Cam Akers early last season that forced him to miss a few weeks, it can be a painful injury, so I'd expect Henderson to miss at least this week, if not more. Now, Michel is rostered in just north of 50% of leagues, and that number should spike over the next couple days. Go check your free agency and make sure he's not there. Michel didn't have a role in Week 1, but he really came on nicely in Week 2. And if Henderson's injury forces him to miss Week 3 and beyond, Sony Michel vaults into high-end running back 2 territory. The running back on the Rams is a position you want, and Michel is primed to be featured in this Matthew Stafford-led offense. Next, I'm going to go with the wide receiver, and I'm going to go with Arizona Cardinals wide receiver Rondale Moore. I talked a lot about how much I loved Rondale Moore on our shows this offseason. You probably already have him if you've listened. The young wideout looks like he's going to have a major role in this Arizona offense, and it's always a good idea to invest in good offenses for fantasy. It looks like Kyler Murray and the Cardinals will be one of the best in 2021. Now, Rondale Moore secured 7 of his 8 targets for 113 yards and a score in Week 2, and it looks like he's quickly establishing himself as a number 2 option in Arizona. His target share remains healthy, and this young receiver could have league-winning upside if the performances like this past Sunday continue. Go grab him. And then finally, my last waiver wire ad for Week 3 is going to be a quarterback, and I'm going to go with Las Vegas Raiders quarterback Derek Carr. 2 weeks into the fantasy football season, and Derek Carr is a QB1. He finished as a top 8 quarterback both weeks 1 and 2, and that's against 2 pretty stout defenses in Baltimore and Pittsburgh. And he actually leads the league in passing yards as we sit here heading into Week 3. Carr looks locked in, and his weapons are pulling their weight. Nothing needs to be said about Darren Waller, but Bryan Edwards, Henry Ruggs, and Kenyon Drake are playing key roles in this Las Vegas passing attack. Derek Carr gets the Miami Dolphins in Week 3. I think he's in line for another top 10 finish at the position. If you're currently rolling with a quarterback like Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, or Big Ben Roethlisberger, go add Carr, as he could very well outscore all of them rest of the season. All right, and now I'm going to wrap up my show today with the starts of the week segment. Last week I had quarterback Justin Herbert, running back Nick Chubb, and wide receiver Devontae Adams. Not a great week for Justin Herbert, but Chubb and Adams both had good games. Let's keep it going for week 3. My first start of the week for week 3 is going to be a quarterback, and it's going to be Baltimore Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson looked great on Sunday Night Football against the Chiefs in week 2. His ability as a dual-threat quarterback makes him one of the most fantasy-friendly quarterbacks in football. In week 2, he went for over 100 yards on the ground and scored 2 rushing touchdowns. And that's really good, guys, right? Even on the worst passing days, Jackson can buoy his fantasy value with elite rushing upside. In week 3, Jackson gets the lowly Lions defense. Fresh off surrendering a huge game from Aaron Rodgers on Monday Night Football, fire up Lamar Jackson in week 3. Next, I'm going to go with the running back, and it's going to be New York Giants running back Saquon Barkley. Now, week 2 wasn't super pretty for Barkley, but there were some encouraging takeaways. First, he played a lot. Over 80% of the snaps went to Saquon in week 2, which was an uptick from his 50% snap share in week 1. Second, his breakaway run of 40 yards on Thursday night looked like old Saquon. Now, he was bottled up the rest of the game, but that 40-yard scamper is what I want to see if I'm a Barkley owner. Third, he now gets 10 days rest between week 2 and 3, which will afford Barkley more than enough time to rest up and be fully prepared for a more featured role. This week, Barkley and the New York Giants get the Atlanta Falcons defense, who just gave up nearly 50 points to Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Bucks. Fire up Saquon Barkley as an RB1 in week 3. And then finally, my last start of the week, this will be a quick one. It's going to be a wide receiver, and it's going to be Arizona Cardinals wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins. This matchup with the Jags defense is one of the best for wide receivers. The Jags have given up big games to opposing number 1 wideouts the first 2 weeks. In week 1, they gave up 130 yards to Brandon Cooks, and then allowed almost 160 yards to Cortland Sutton last week. Kyler Murray's favorite target should be busy this week, and Nuke Hopkins has the potential to be the highest scoring fantasy wide receiver in week 3. Start DeAndre Hopkins with confidence this coming week. So that'll do it. Please remember to comment and like on this video on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. This has been the 4th and Long Fantasy Football Show. Good luck in week 3, everybody. See you next week.
Royalty-free music courtesy of Ben Sound. The views and opinions expressed on today's episode are that of the 4th and Long Fantasy Football Show. Remember to like and subscribe.